And let's go ahead and publish it. Okay, great. And now let's go ahead and go back to the blog post template. And let's style this a little bit. So we have this padding section. Let's go to the body and let's add a new section. And it's going to go to the top. And right under the nav bar. And then let's take this heading 1 and put it underneath that section. So here we can see that new section we made. And then under that section, let's call this blog heading. Let's rename that blog heading section. And let's add a background image. So let's go to this gear, the settings, and we want to say get background image from blog posts. And we're going to make this the main image. Great. And let's go back to the settings, and let's make the min height right here of the blog heading section 200 px, maybe 300 px. Okay, and then let's go down, and under backgrounds we want to first just hit a plus sign, and even though you have no image here, it's automatically going to override and pull in the image we selected in the settings, which is pulling from the CMS. And then we want the size to say cover, and let's make the min height 500. Okay, awesome. And let's take that heading and bring it back down to the padding section, and we're gonna do one thing that's gonna be kind of cool. So we're going to add a div block, kind of like we did on the home page. So now we have this div block down here at the bottom. Let's take the heading and put it inside that div block. And right now this div block's outside of the section, and let's put it inside of the section. So now it's up here. And now let's make the background color white. And now let's go to the div block. Let's center the text. So we want to center a line in the typography in that div block. And let's rename this class the blog post header box. And let's go to spacing, and let's add some padding by holding shift to 40 like we did, and let's also add some margin. Okay, let's see if we can fix this a little bit. And then in this heading section, let's change the display to a flex, and you can see the direction. Let's make it vertical. And on justify, we want this bottom. So here you can see by adding the flex direction vertical, and we can justify the contents inside to be at the bottom. Now let's go back to the header box, and for the margin, let's take this margin bottom and drag it the opposite way. So we want this to go negative, so it starts going into the next section. And under padding section, this is that next section. Let's add some margin here so it just starts pulling away. Okay, perfect. Actually, let's go ahead and go back with that. We don't necessarily want that margin. Let's put that back to 0 because we don't want that white space. But we'll deal with that in a minute. So here we have this blog post header box. We only have the heading. Let's pull in the date like we did before, and let's pull that to the top. And let's update the style. So let's make that Montserrat like we've been using, and then same for the header text. And let's change the color to black, and then the weight to medium. And perfect. And then here, let's add padding on the top, because padding is going to pull that section down. And on this header box, let's also add some margin on the sides to make it a little bit more close in. And then here, this heading for, this is the post summary. So let's add this post summary into this title box as well. Let's see if we can do that. Heading 4. There we go. And let's change the font style here. You can change the font to the same that we've been using, and the weight at 400. Awesome. So you can see this is looking really good. And let's go ahead and just publish and save that. And one thing cool is here we're in the blog post template, and here you can see, you can choose to see what it looks like on different blog posts. So let's go ahead and click this. So great, you can see it looks, the new image is pulling in and the new posts are pulling in for each blog post. And let's go ahead and just go here and refresh to our actual published site. And let's click in. And awesome, this is looking really nice. And now let's make this rich text look a little bit better. So let's go back to the blog, and all we have to do here under the rich text blocks, first let's change the font so everything matches, and you can see just by doing that, it's already starting to look a little bit better. Make the color black, and then I think that looks really good. So let's just add, I think that looks great. Let's publish that. Great. And let's edit this header a little bit. So now, because it's a symbol, we have to double click on the nav bar, and now we're editing the nav bar, and it's going to be edited on every page. So first, let's update the color to be white. And let's go ahead into this nav link. We don't really need these right now, so let's just go ahead and delete. So if we go here, we'll delete that, we'll delete the link, and we'll delete the button, because right now we don't need them. I'll leave these list items in for now, because you can always add in add those texts back later. But for now, let's just leave those blank, and let's publish. And let's go back to the blog, and let's update it, and cool. So here you can see we have our logo, we have all the background of the nav bar is white, and you go down, and we have a nice looking blog here. And we'll go back home. It's not working, so let's fix that. Go back to Webflow, double click on the nav bar, the nav logo, and let's see if we can get to that nav logo link, and hit the gear button, and we want the link to a page, and the page is home. And let's go back and let's publish and see if that fixes it. So refresh. Now we're on the blog post, and we'll click that, and it brings us home. Awesome. And let's see, what else can we do here? All right, so the last thing we're going to do, there's obviously a lot that you can do with blogs. There's a lot more we could do with styling. There's we could add categories. We could add featured posts. We could add suggested posts to read at the bottom. So there's a lot else that we can add. But I just want to keep it simple now, so you kind of have a good idea of how Webflow works, how to do some basic design on it, and we can always do more complicated things later on. So the last thing is, let's just go back to the home page, and let's make our site more responsive. So responsive means that as your screen size changes, you want your website to update as well, so that it doesn't kind of get squished like this. And then our mobile, if you're looking on a phone, this doesn't look very good as well. So let's go back to Webflow, and they make it very easy to do this. So first, let's update the home page. You need to update each page's responsiveness individually. And the way Webflow does this is they have this way to view your site and different viewpoints. So this is the main viewpoint with the star, and as you can see, it says desktop styles apply at all breakpoints unless they're edited at a larger or smaller breakpoint. So any styles we add to this main breakpoint are automatically going to get sent down to each subsequent breakpoint. But if we make an edit here at the tablet size, it's going to also automatically get updated as you go smaller. And if you make an edit on the tablet size, but we need to make another edit as we go smaller, we can do that. So I'll show you what I mean. So the desktop size looks good. That's what we originally designed for. And the tablet size, I think that's getting a little bit squished. So let's go ahead and click into our collection list wrapper and our collection list, and let's edit our grid. And let's change from 3 columns, and let's delete that, so now it's 2 columns. Okay, that looks better. And now let's go into our mobile landscape size, and let's do the same thing. Let's edit that grid, and now let's make it 1 column. Perfect. Now let's look how it looks like on the phone, and okay, so here 1 column is right, but the problem is there's too much space here. So let's see what the problem is. Let's click into each section and see what might be causing this. Okay, so it looks like it's actually the padding section. So the whole section, remember we added all this padding, which looks good and works totally fine on a big screen, but when we're looking at a mobile device, there's way too much space. So all we need to do is, let's hit Shift and drag out, and let's just make a small amount of padding, so maybe like 15 on each side. And here you can see now it's looking good on mobile. And let's publish. And let's go back to the blog and let's refresh. And now you can see as you go in and out, the Webflow site updates. And the last thing I want to show you right now is how you edit your blog. So let's go back to the CMS and just hit blog posts, and let's say you want to change the 5 principles of effective web design to the 25 principles of effective web design. So all you have to do is edit the name. You can edit anything here in the post, the image, and let's just hit save. And let's go back to the navigator, and you can see here this updates to the 25 principles of effective web design.